Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Hello, friend, and welcome back to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. Well, today we are going to be diving into the topic of food dyes. So Valentine's Day is this week, and there are food dyes everywhere you look. Red, pink, purple, all the fun food dyes for Valentine's Day where you have cupcakes or treats and sweets and all the things, right? And the topic has come up multiple times. I know that I have mentioned on our show that we're going to talk about this topic in a variety of different episodes, right? Well, today is the day that we are going to dive in. And as I was doing research, I found more information than I kind of expected. So I'm excited to share this with you and what food dyes actually are, because you know me, I love the root cause of something. What actually is it? And what is it actually doing to our bodies, to our brains, to our children and their development? So we're going to talk all about that today. And I'm even going to share with you some alternative options so you can have dye-free foods in your home. We are a dye-free home. Whenever we purchase, any kind of snacks or treats or anything, we look at the ingredients and we purchase dye-free options. But that also leads me to full transparency, and this actually happened today before I recorded this, that sweets and treats are all around us, right? So there are opportunities for our kids to have M&Ms or Sour Patch Kids or cupcakes with icing, right? All of these opportunities are around us. Not chocolate, but ice cream. Literally everything that you can think of, there probably is food dye in it, okay? And in most options, in most cases, right? And we have to make that choice of, is it something that we are allowing once in a while? Are we saying no, absolutely not? I think it depends on our kids and our family. And I think there should be no judgment between anyone. If someone lives their life a certain way, that's how they are doing it. You guys know me. I'm a no judgment-free zone here, okay? That is the community that I've built on. And I love to share education and resources based on these specific topics. And then we dive in deeper, right? And you get to make that choice. You make that choice for yourself. You make that choice for your family. And it is for your family alone. I'm not looking to change anyone, because that's not what it's about. It's about giving education and knowledge in an area that we may not have that knowledge, because guess what? This stuff was not taught in schools, right? No one learned about this. It was there. It may have been different when we were younger, but now it's more apparent. Now people are talking about it more, and what are we going to do about it? So I want to ask you, have you ever noticed behavior differences in your children? Learning differences in your children, meltdowns, hyperactivity, sleep issues. They can't focus. They can't get a good night's rest. I'm going to give you a little preview. This is only the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to talk more about a whole nother topic next week, and I cannot wait to share it with you regarding all of these issues and other things that we can do. Not only can we look at the food that we are eating, right? What are we putting in our body? But what are some other things that we can do to help our kids, to help them sleep better, to help them focus, to reduce the meltdowns? That is what this is all about, right? If you're a mom, would you do whatever you could in your power, financially and, schedule-wise, time, capacity, all of those things, in your power, would you do everything you could to reduce focus issues, meltdowns, overstimulation for ourselves and our kids, sleep issues? I know that I would, and I know that I have been on this journey, and it is truly a journey. This is something that doesn't happen overnight. This is something where you learn a little piece of information along the way and say, you know what? I'm going to start to make small changes, and I'm going to start to see what that does for my family. How do they respond? How does my body respond? How does their body respond? This is not about limiting it. This is not about saying you can't have any of that. That's not okay. Because then what I've seen happen, and what I have seen from personal experience, is if you say you can't, what's going to happen behind closed doors? They're going to binge. They're going to hide it and eat it because you're saying you can't have that. You can't eat that? But if we're giving them the knowledge and the education behind it, they're understanding it. So, prime example, today we had this situation where my husband took the kids over. There were treats on the table after church, and the kids put some M&Ms and Sour Patch Kids and into their popcorn, which the popcorn probably had food coloring in it too. I was okay with them getting popcorn because yes, there probably was yellow food coloring in that popcorn and the butter or whatever. But I really wasn't okay with them getting the candy because we have alternatives for that. So I was kind of upset about this as we left church and as we were running our errands. And I had to have this conversation with my family and say, listen, it's not about you not having a treat. That's not what it's about. It's about having a treat that is better for your body. I have M&Ms at home that have no food coloring. We have treats and fruit snacks that have no food coloring in them. Now, here's something that we're going to dive into even more as we talk about this. It's still a treat. I am not saying because I have M&Ms with no food coloring in them, no food coloring, they are dye-free, you can eat the whole bag. No, it's still sugar. It's still going to react with their body. Regardless, food coloring or not, sugar is still going to cause these problems for our children, right? But the food coloring adds another layer. And we're going to talk about that right now. So that's really what I'm excited to dive into. This is not about a fear base. This is not to scare anyone, right? This is about education. And that is the biggest thing that I told my children. So as we were sitting in the car and we were talking about it, I said, again, this is to bring awareness to you and the food that you are choosing to eat, because it is all around us. My kids are not in school, but I know from when I was in school and from what other families have shared, there's always a holiday, right? There's a party, there's a fun activity. I remember being a teacher, I cannot tell you how many treats and sweets and lunches and all of those things. Now, trust me, I loved a good lunch because then I didn't have to pack a lunch or bring something, right? But there was always donuts or a cake or candy, right, in the faculty room. And that's the same thing for our kids. If it's always there and we're always just kind of snacking on it, what is the dye doing to us and what is the sugar doing to us? And all of the other processed ingredients that are in there, right? So this is not about this is still not saying this is healthy, right? I'm not saying like, yes, have dye-free M&Ms and eat the whole bag. It's not healthy, right? We really should be opting for other foods that have the health benefits, right? A bowl of berries or a banana, or get some honey and sweeten, something, right? You could dive really deep into this. What I'm saying is, let's look at the food dye and what is it doing to our bodies, to our children, and what are food dyes? And just bringing awareness to this, awareness to you as a mom, as a caretaker, a grandma, an aunt, whoever, as a dad. I mean, we could have dads listening to this too. So thank you to everyone who is tuning in. I really do appreciate you all. But also, this is awareness for our children. This is giving them education that they're not getting in the typical school setting, right? If you homeschool your kids, it's a little bit different. You can have these conversations throughout the day. That is what we do. And like I said, my kids don't have as many opportunities to have these treats without alternatives, right? Typically, I'm with them. And if there's a treat, I'm able to talk to them about it and say, hey, you know what? Instead of this, let's go home and get one of your treats that you have, or let's go to the grocery store and buy something that is dye-free. That would be my alternative, typically, right? Today, that wasn't necessarily the case, but both of my kids took the knowledge that I gave them and became aware of it. And they both apologized in their own time. It was never anything that I even asked for an apology for, but they became aware and said, you know what? I should have known better. I want my body to be the healthiest it can be. So let's dive into this. What are food dyes really? So this was something that, we say we shouldn't have food dyes, but why? What's the why behind it? Well, it's a synthetic chemical. It's made from petroleum, oil, or coal tar. Guys, that should never go into our body. And we've been hearing all about, seed oils and things like that as well. But synthetic chemicals made in a lab of oil and coal tar, and it's only designed to color the food to make it more appealing. It has no nutritional value at all, only to make it look prettier. So it's all marketing. It's all to sell something. I actually saw an article as I was doing some research, and I think it was 2015, General Mills. I don't recall this at all, but I was also in full baby season, right? Ella was born in 2015, so I was not looking at cereals or anything like that. But General Mills, and to be honest, it wasn't until 2020 that I really, really started on this path of a more holistic health mindset. So I would say, yes, I was definitely making good choices and eating better options while I was nursing and when I was pregnant. I did have lots of sugar cookies while I was pregnant. So that was definitely my craving. So I wasn't totally healthy, but it wasn't until later in 2020 that I really started to understand this holistic mindset even more. But in 2015, General Mills did a study, I guess, or an experiment, let's say, and they removed the food dyes from their cereal. And I guess that was, people had been talking about it. Let's remove these food dyes. Well, then here's what happened next. Within the next 2 years from then removing the food dye, customers started complaining and saying, this doesn't look as appealing. This doesn't taste the same. And then they went back and they reintroduced the food dyes. That is crazy to me. This company was ready to start making a shift. And because, here's the other thing, guys, our taste buds, they're so accustomed to all that sugar, to all the ultra processed foods that whenever you have something sweet like honey or like berries, it's not sweet enough, right? If you have some natural sweetness, it's not sweet enough because they have in a lab created this sugar and these chemicals and all of these processed foods to make you want more. And I can attest to this. I have been on this journey up and down all the time. My husband and I went out to dinner on Friday. So for the past 2 weeks, maybe even 2.5 weeks, I have been doing a liver detox for my body. I have been really clean with my diet, and I have been feeling really, really good. I've really been, watching the inflammation in my body, and it's been amazing. Well, we go out to dinner on Friday to celebrate for Valentine's Day, and it wasn't bad. I got steak, I got vegetables. However, there was bread. I did have a piece of bread, which it was delicious, but I had bread where I haven't had bread, and if I do have bread, it's sourdough bread. And then we had dessert, and I had like a gingerbread creme brulee dessert, right? Sugar central. Well, let me tell you, from Friday until today is Sunday, I have just wanted more processed foods. I've wanted something sweet. I've wanted something carby, where that's not even what I was eating before. But because I allowed my taste buds to get back into that dessert, right? Oh, it'll just be an occasion, which I'm not saying we can't have these occasions, but we have to be aware. And that's where I'm at right now in this moment, just being aware of that and saying, wow, how easy is it for our body to kind of slip back and say, oh, we want all of that sugar, all of those treats, right? I'll tell you, even today, I was like, you know what? I would love a piece of pizza. I haven't had pizza in a while. I'll have a piece of pizza for lunch. It was not that good. I should have just waited and had my clean food because one, it feels better whenever my body feels better, right? And just all the things. So that's a whole another conversation. We really are talking about dyes, but really you guys can see how passionate I am about how food impacts our bodies, all food, right? I was just talking about carbs and regular sugar. That didn't even have food dye in it, the dessert that I had, but it affected my body. So keep that in mind. We're not even just talking about dyes. We're talking about the food that is not natural. It's not made from this earth, right? All right, let's get back to dyes. Here I am, a little off kilter. It's probably all the food that I had this week that was not on par for me, right? All right, so the common dyes that you'll see are the dye 40, the yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, and blue 2. All of these dyes are manufactured in labs and added to the food strictly for appearance and marketing purposes, okay? Make it prettier, not healthier, okay? There are other dyes as well, and I'm pretty sure that it was, remember all of the craze about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, that the U.S. was banning red 3 maybe, right? I come to find out that one is barely used, right? You're typically going to see the red 40. And here is what I said whenever this happened, right? They're like, oh, great. Let's make sure that we ban all the other ones as well. Here's the thing that I believe is going to happen. Unless you specifically see that it is dyed with beets or dyed with something that you know is natural, right? There's going to be another label. It's going to just be disguised as another term. Instead of saying flat out red 40, because now we are aware and we understand that, it might say something different. And I did see something that had all of these different alternatives. And then the other side of that is in Europe, everyone talks about, oh, these are all banned in Europe and there's warning labels and all of that. One of the things that I did see was that they are using these alternative terms for these dyes. So they may still have dye in their food. It may just be called something different. So keep that in mind. What we hear and what we see online, do your research, okay? Even from this podcast, if you're like, I want to know more, do some research and be aware of your sites, because we all know that different people have different opinions and views, right? If you have a holistic group, go into those holistic groups and just put in food dye and see what comes up that people have talked about. Or ask a question and say, tell me more about food dye. I'm new to this. I don't know what to do. I'm going to share a little bit about what you can start to do, but find your community. Join the Home Education with Ease community so we can talk more about it. But like I said, find a lot of like-minded people. That's why I would like to, I suggest going to a holistic group, a Crunchy Moms group, something like that, because you're going to find a lot of different resources, right? But I would love for you to take your resources and experience and bring them to the Home Education with Ease Facebook group. Because one, I would love to know what your knowledge is, because it's going to help me grow and, be able to continue to spread this word. And two, you never know what your information and what you share could do for someone else and for their kids. All right. So why are food dyes so hard on our kids' bodies, especially? But think about even our own. Maybe have you noticed something for yourself too? So keep that in mind too. All right. So the body doesn't know what to do with that dye and that synthetic chemical, right? A foreign synthetic chemical. The body's like, what do I do with this? It's a toxin that comes into your body. And it has to go to your liver for detox, but it can cause stress along the way. It can cause stress while your children are trying to focus, while they're trying to sleep. It can cause that hyperactivity. It can cause that restlessness, those outbursts. And I'm not saying that it always does. Every child is different. Every brain is different. But if you do notice things like this, keep it in mind. Another thing that I found was young children's detox pathways are be immature. So they're still developing. And it might take longer for those toxins to be removed from their body. And then it stays in their system longer. And I know for myself, my gut health is something that I have constantly been working on. And if, I did this liver detox, right? But what if we are having our own problems, right? With our gut health and our liver, and our body is not removing toxins as quickly as we would like it to as well. So keeping those things in mind, what could happen? Well, it could enter into the bloodstream, cross into the brain, and interfere with these neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. All right. And then that is going to affect the focus, the impulse control, the mood regulation, right? Think about those. I know for my son, Alex, if he has too much sugar, it affects him like that. I can tell in the way that he responds, in the way that he's acting. He was having accidents at one point, and I remember my aunt saying to me, because this was when we were in Pittsburgh and it could have been the holidays or a party or something, right? Which there's always cake and ice cream and treats and all of those things. And I've had to have serious conversations with my kids because it can be readily available. We have to make a choice and say, you know what? I don't like the way that affects my body. I want to have optimal health. We have to make those choices. The other thing that it can cause is inflammation. Inflammation in the gut, and then that's disrupting the gut-brain connection and causing this sensory overload, or can contribute to this sensory overload. So I know for my kids, I want them to have a good, healthy gut. I have been learning so much information in my 40 years, right, over the past few years, that I wish I would have known much sooner so I could have had a healthier gut. So then that way, when I'm in my 40s, I'm not trying to heal something that I have been wrecking for most of my life. And that is a whole nother conversation and topic that I was having with a fellow mom, where we have been wrecking our gut in ways that we didn't know, right? My 20-year-old version of myself, I didn't realize that I was wrecking my gut. So if we can give this information to our children, my children are 9 and 10. Gosh, if I can set them up for a lifetime of success and their gut is not wrecked, imagine what they're going to be able to accomplish. Imagine how far ahead they'll be when they're in their 40s, not trying to detox and play catch up and heal from something that I didn't know was happening in all those years ago. And think about this, when we're dysregulated, right? How do your children react, right? When our gut is off, our children are going to be off. So not our specific gut, but when their gut is off, when they're dysregulated and they're overstimulated, what's going to happen? They're going to be dysregulated. They're going to have these outbursts, right? They're going to have difficulty sleeping and calming down, right? We want them to be able to regulate their emotions and their behaviors, because right now their primary goal is to be able to focus and learn and set themselves up for success. Have a good foundation of education, so then that way they can continue to build on it. And I know for sure, I want to set my kids up for success. I want to give them a good, healthy, balanced breakfast that is fueling their brain instead of leading to frustration. Think about it. Think about your kids. I know from personal experience, food that was being served in the cafeteria. Dairy is full of inflammation. Sugary cereals, full of sugar and food dyes. Pop-Tarts, donuts. And they say, oh, we made them whole wheat. It doesn't excuse all the sugar that is just going right to their brains. So keeping those things in mind as well. We want our kids to be regulated. We want them to be calm. We want them to be able to sit and focus. And yes, get outside and move, because that's what our body needs too. Our body needs to move. This is all intertwined. It's not just about food. It's not just about food dyes. It's not just about sugar. It's not just about, activity. It's all of these things combined. And how can we help them? So I know Ella, and I know that Ella today was saying, like, gosh, I wish I could just dump those bowls of candy. Like, why did they still make it? Why is it still allowed to be made and sold? I know, baby. I get it. Once we know and we learn how bad something is for our body, it's so easy to say, why? Why are we still making this? Why are we still able to consume it when we know? I've got my ideas. I would love to hear yours. So it's really important, because all of these can be, like I've said, it affects their attention. It affects their energy. So I encourage you just to kind of take a mental note. You could do a food diary if you really were concerned, right? If you were at a point and you were like, listen, my kids are off the wall. They cannot focus. They can't sit still. Let's do a little, observation. I hate to say experiment because it's not an experiment. It's really an observation of, and if you need to write it down, write it down. What did they eat for breakfast? How long did they sleep the prior night, right? What did they eat? How much did they move throughout the day? What did they have for a snack? What did they have for lunch, another snack, and dinner, right? And did you have dessert? Is dessert a regular thing? Or is it a once in a while thing? And if it is a once in a while thing, is it something that is full of food dye and processed material, ingredients? Or is it something that you can find alternatives for? Instead of buying cookies, could you make them? And then guess what? This is what I love the most. That turns into a lesson. That turns into core memories. And wow, we got in the kitchen and we made cookies. Or we learned how to make ice cream. Or we learned how to, fill in the blank. Because now that is a memory that they will remember. And it is making that connection. Well, we don't have food dye because of the way it acts or the way, our bodies respond to it. But here's an alternative to what we can have, and we made it together. And it tastes so much better. Do an experiment that way too. Where you can buy chocolate chip cookies from the store, or you can make a batch of chocolate chip cookies. Which one's going to taste better? And of course, I know we don't all have the same amount of time and capacity, but then maybe we don't need it. Right? Maybe there is something else that we can purchase or we can get that is a better treat. So, like I said, it's not about perfection. It's not about being 100% perfect, because that's not the goal. The goal is to be aware. The goal is to then observe our kids' behaviors. Take a mental note of what they ate and how they responded. Take a mental note of how they slept because of what they ate, right? It is all a cycle. Did they get outside to play? Did they get the fresh air? Even if they can't get outside in the winter months, right? Did you do something to help them move or help them to burn up some of their energy? There are brain breaks, which aren't the best option, but it's an option. There are obstacle courses you can make in the house, right? There are some other options. Go to a store. I don't know. I know in the winter it's definitely harder. But those days, like in the afternoons when the sun is out and maybe you can just get out for 20 minutes, I don't know, right? Keep those things in mind, 10 minutes even. But again, it is not to scare anyone. It is to just bring awareness to this, to make some swaps if you can, and look and see the difference. If our bodies are calmer, imagine how much calmer and more peaceful our learning rhythms can be. Because everyone's regulated. We're all working together and able to think well, respond and react appropriately. So keep in mind, look for some swaps. I'm going to share a little bonus with you right now of some of the swaps that we have done. And you can look for these. They are a little bit more pricey, and that is definitely something that I shared with the kids today, right? And they know this because if you go to Costco and you buy a huge giant thing of M&Ms, it's significantly cheaper than if you went to Sprouts, our local grocery store that has dye-free M&Ms, right? We can get a bag of them for probably the same price. And I mean a small bag, a pound, I don't know what it is, how much it is, half a pound, for probably the same price as that big container at Costco. So yes, when you look at cost, but when you start making small changes, and one, you might say, you know what, we don't really need this. I'm gonna just kind of take this out of our menu or what we eat, right? Or I am gonna replace it because I do want it. So think about just some of those swaps. Start being aware of how your children are reacting and behaving, and give it time. Allow it to get out of their system, at least a week, to start to see. And guess what? Some people may not see anything, but some people may see significant changes. Calmer energy, fewer meltdowns, better sleep, longer attention span. So keep that in mind. Every child is different, but let's see how they respond to swapping out and reducing the sugar, right? Maybe you don't reduce the sugar right away. Maybe you just swap out some of the things for food dye, free. But then maybe you look at sugar and you say, oh, you know what? We are eating a lot of sugar. Let's start cutting that out. And let me just throw this in here. There's two things that I want to add in here. One, if you are like, Christine, I would love more help with this, I would love to schedule a one-to-one call with you, because this is something that I truly love to do. I love diving in a little bit deeper and saying, how can I help your family be more peaceful and enjoy, right? How can we make these swaps in an easy way? Because that's what it's about for me. It's about encouraging you and supporting you on your journey wherever you are. Again, no judgment ever. How can I support you right where you're at? So there will be a link in the show notes if you want to schedule a one-to-one call with me, because I would love that. I would love to walk alongside you, see some of the swaps or some of the choices that you have now. What are some of the swaps that we can make? And we could talk about that. How is that affecting learning, right? I have a few people in mind that I'm like, I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, let's try something. And let's see if it makes a difference in their learning and how they are, growing. So keep those things in mind too. And I would love, 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 love for you to join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group. That link is also in the show notes below. That is where we talk more about this. I'm going to share this YouTube video in there, and you can always catch me, on YouTube as well. But because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a little bonus of all of the swaps that we've made. So it might be a little bit loud because I'm going to grab this bag and I'm going to show you. All right, so the first thing, as we're talking about sweets and treats, I have Yum Earth here. So these are Yum Earth pops, like lollipops. And first ingredient is sugar, but it has organic natural flavors. Now that I don't really love because you never know what a natural flavor is. But it's colored with organic concentrate, carrot, apple, blackcurrant. So keeping these things in mind, this is what we're going to be passing out for Valentine's Day. They also have gummy hearts. So again, not 100% what I would love, but because you still have to read the ingredients. There's still stuff in here that's like, that's not the best. I know that that's a cover-up for something else, like citric acid. Sounds like, oh, it's acid from citrus, but it's not really. So just take a moment and review labels. Just, there are options, but review labels, and it's a better alternative. Oh, this is something before we even get started or before we continue. One thing I want to keep in mind. This has been told to me by moms that ADHD medication, right? If your child has ADHD and they have to be on they have to have medication to help to regulate them. I encourage you to look at the ingredients because those medications have food dye in them. So we're not even just talking about food. We're talking about medication. We're talking about laundry or dishwasher soap. Literally anything that has color. Toothpaste. Oh my gosh, guys, this could be a whole nother episode. Toothpaste. The stuff that is in Crest toothpaste, look at it. You're brushing your teeth. You're literally putting it right on and into your mouth in a concentrated amount because you're brushing your teeth with it. And it's in your mouth and it's, right? I mean, everything that we eat, I get that. But take a look. It is everywhere. Just kind of open your eyes. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just notice. Okay, let's go on. And if you were like, Christine, this is so much, just reach out. Let's chat, okay? Send me a DM on Instagram, and I'd love to chat with you. All right, I've talked about this before. This company, Blue Stripes, love them. It's from the cacao bean, and we just found these at Costco today, actually. They are super fruit gummies. So it's mango and cacao fruit. That's it. Only 2 ingredients, no food colorings, 100% fruit, and bonus, no sugar. So I tried these with my kids today. They actually were very good. I'll give you another alternative to fruit snacks. Again, not the best. It is by General Mills, but they're Mott's fruit snacks. And of course, I can't see the ingredients. But I do know that there are no food dye, okay? So I give these out a lot whenever I pass out my little crafts and things too, in like parades and things like that. It's not the best, but at least it's not food dye. And kids always love fruit snacks. So Mott's don't have food dye, but again, it's not 100% great, but it's a better alternative. All right, let's go with our cakes, cookies, right? So I have a brand here called Supernatural Softies, and they are sprinkles. So they're chocolate sprinkles, no food dye in them. But there's still other things in here that wouldn't be the best, but it's a better alternative than having all the food dye. Here are a few more options for those dye-free sprinkles. And you can also look for cakes and icings and things like that. Like pick a vanilla icing with no food dye in it if you want a different color. And then you can get Watkins food coloring, no artificial dye. It's not going to be as vibrant of colors, but it is another option if you want a different color. Or you can experiment and dye with fruits and vegetables like beets and blueberries and different things like that. All right, so we have the Supernatural Twinkles, so no artificial dye. And then Walmart now has a brand called Better Goods. And these are rainbow sprinkles, no artificial dyes. So again, not 100% like, oh yeah, these ingredients are great. They're not, but we are limiting the food dye that we are consuming. All right, let's keep talking about, kind of treats and stuff. Marshmallows. Guys, marshmallows are white. You would not think that there is food dye in marshmallows, but there is. So be aware of that. We buy this brand. It's all, let me see. Dandies, that's what it's called. Dandies, okay? And it does not have food dye in it. I know, as I'm reading these ingredients, they're still not 100%, but like I said, better than other alternatives. All right, another baking ingredient that we buy the Enjoy Life chocolate. This is a dairy-free chocolate. It's actually free of many, many things. Wheat and peanuts and tree nuts and dairy and soy and egg and all the things, okay? So there are all other alternatives. Look for them. Be aware of them. There are different cake alternatives, batters and icings and things like that. All right, let's see. I have another one. Oh, this one's from Trader Joe's. Another sprinkle. They're just Trader Joe's all occasion sprinkles. So those don't have food dye in them. And then let's kind of look at a few other snacks that we've got that are better options. So That's It bars. It's just mango and apples, or apples and strawberries, apples and blueberries. So these are some of the alternatives that we purchased that are more of a sweet, snack without it being full of sugar and food dye. This we just found, again, Blue Stripes. I really do like this company. And it was a healthier granola. So Alex he was super excited. He had to have that today. So he was super pumped for that. And then last but not least, I'm going to show you. Now, we've already eaten out of these, so the bags are a little bit folded up. But Boulder, now hear me out. I know that some of these companies have been purchased by larger companies, and they change the ingredients when that happens, okay? Again, right now, the main thing is here are some alternatives, okay? So, give me 1 second. I should have opened this up, but whoops. Boulder Cannon has an avocado oil, nacho cheese, tortilla chips, okay? Kind of like Doritos, and then there's also a ranch one, kind of like Doritos, okay? It would be an alternative to Doritos. And I did see that Doritos came out with a dye-free option. These, again, as I started reading the ingredients, not the best, but a better alternative. And I'm sorry that I sound like a broken record, but that is really what I have noticed, right? We still have to be aware of what we're eating. These things that I showed you, they're like snacks and they're occasional treats. It is not something that we consume often because it's still not the best for us. I really want you to focus on the whole foods, fruits and vegetables, right? Your whole food, because that's really what is nourishing the body and it's helping the brain development. And I'm going to segue right into our next episode next week. Join me as I talk about brain development and breathing. And then at the end of the month, I have a special guest to share more about MyoWay therapy. Guys, you're not going to want to miss this. I didn't realize we were going to talk so much about holistic health this month, but I'm so glad that we are because as you can see, it's really a passion of mine. And the reason it is because if our bodies are functioning properly, our brains can function properly, and we are more regulated. And then that leads to our children as well being more regulated and being able to learn easier and faster, and allowing the home really to be peaceful. That is the goal, is to really have this home where you love being. That's my goal anyway. And everyone is just able to work to their full potential and have optimal health. So that is why this is also important to me, because not only is it important for our bodies, but it's important for education for our children. Well, thank you guys so much. Don't forget, book that one-to-one call if you're interested in knowing more about what we're talking about today, and if you want to plan for you and your family, and join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group.
Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.